My name is Hannah Barco, and I serve as Associate Curator and Festival Director at Tefra ICA. I co-curated Hacia La Vida, Toward Life. Vividness and vitality, reverence and resistance, the intimacy of both the quotidian and the imagined, a seriousness that does not eclipse brightness and joy. We are each connected to the challenges faced by immigrants. Through beautiful and familiar objects and images, the exhibition invites solidarity and a deep sense of interconnectedness.
My name is Amy Sanchez Arteaga. I live and work between Baja California and Southern California.
My name is Misael Diaz. I'm an artist and an educator working between Baja and Alta California and Southern California, between Tijuana and Los Angeles.
Our practice as Cognate Collective is interested in the transgressions that take place in our region on a daily basis.
We grew up here, and our work is very much influenced by resilience of migrants in the face of this hyper-militarized border.
In Hacia La Vida, Toward Life, we lit 42 candles during the opening and read this text as a ritual calling for the end of Title 42, which has created family separations at the border. Most people don't migrate out of a desire or on a whim. It's because the situation at home is so difficult that people have to leave. We encourage people to link the symbolic action of lighting a candle, of reading this text with this material action of solidarity.
We like to work collectively, since much of the work that we undertake also has this aim to think about what it means to use art as a tool for social justice. Many of the works have also been inspired by previous collaborations with immigrant rights groups. Protest Balloons initially grew out of a series of workshops that we hosted at the Santa Fe Springs Swap Meet in LA County, working with Resilience Orange County, which is an immigrant rights organization that does a lot of deportation defense. We arrived at this notion of a balloon in the place of a picket sign. Counter-protesters would show up at rallies screaming that America was for American citizens, as a way of trying to intimidate undocumented folks. The video that's included in the exhibition is pointing the camera towards the sky, because rather than just document the market as it exists, we chose this more poetic gesture of turning the camera towards the sky to think about this etymological link between the tianguis, the word that we use in Mexico to refer to street markets, which is derived from a Nahuatl term, tianquitzli, which means gathering place. It's how the Aztec Mexica people would refer to both marketplaces as a space for gathering, but also as a Pleiades constellation. This link between the celestial and the terrestrial, between the ancestral and the everyday material realm, documenting a walk through a market, but with the camera pointing up.
The other point of inspiration was this ancestral and migration connection that we have to those spaces. My great-grandpa Ricardo was a textile vendor. He would draw these really idyllic, picturesque scenes on the fabric. We created our own version of that. Instead of just including these scenes that traditionally are pictured on these objects, we have also included the words of people that we consider conceptual ancestors. We hope visitors leave thinking about how we create an idealized version of the world, and how for people of color, for Indigenous people, for Black folks, for trans folk who are experiencing these policies that are trying to legislate our being into invisibility, that makes me want to continue to knit together this better future that we can inhabit together.
Many of those policies are okay with imposing death on communities. For us, I think it becomes important not just highlighting that they're being oriented towards death, but also highlighting all the different ways in which communities continue to resist by orienting themselves towards life, connection, collaboration, existing across and against borders. All of that for us is deeply inspirational.
I'm Jose Corona. I am a Latinx queer multidisciplinary artist based in Baltimore, Maryland. I create uncategorized art across a variety of media, spanning installation, performance, and sculpture. I choreograph large-scale performances that oftentimes center issues that affect marginalized communities both in the United States and abroad, creating fabulated narratives, colorful stories, and familiar materials such as fabric, silk flowers, and plastics. I employ the use of archetypes such as the scapegoat, Mother Nature, and the traveler to allow for as many entry points into the work as possible. Mother Scapegoat is a meditative and poetic sculptural exploration of the indoctrination into societal othering as a form of devoted practice. In the series, the deity is the scapegoat, a figurative representation of blame and shame as internalized acts and subconscious thoughts sacrifice individuals within a community for their queer existences. In Mother Scapegoat, the deity is shown relaxed and in a safe environment that re-envisions a triumphant ending for the social castaway. In my Climate Immigrant series, I highlight the complex relationship between humans and the environment by focusing on our changing climate and its impact on habitation and migration patterns across the world. Climate Immigrants is an ongoing site-specific performance that considers the plight of climate-induced global migration and its effects on people of color. In it, the performers wear climate ponchos, adorned with images depicting the archetype of the traveler, addressing one of the most pressing topics of our time: climate-triggered immigration and relationship to US-centric xenophobia. The works in this exhibition are a direct outcome of the global pandemic. My practice, so heavily focused on performance, really needed those elements of gathering. So I pivoted to creating performances for the camera. I hired a single performer. I photographed them in front of green screen. I then created digital collages. And suddenly I had all of this digital material and realized that I could start printing them on fabrics, on metal, and on plastic, which is translucent and creates a stained glass effect on the windows to the gallery. I ended up also working with jacquard weavings and re-envisioning those digital images through this more traditional woven form. I added hand embroidery to highlight some of the images, which created such a beautiful effect for me. Mother Death Life Mama is an ongoing performance and sculptural series that considers our human mortality. The series addresses our fear of the unknown by highlighting our fraught relationship with Mother Nature. This relates to my upbringing coming from Mexico, where the relationship to death and ancestors is quite present, as opposed to our relationship to death here in the United States. We believe that we're never going to die. Although I am dealing with heavy topics, I choose to do so in a celebratory manner. I pull from my cultural background colorful elements in the processionals or parades in Mexico. It is my goal to invite unexpected audiences through color, through form, and that hopefully through that openness, they are able to leave the exhibition more hopeful, envisioning a brighter future, even if it does lead to our own death, because death is in fact a part of life.
My name is Janelle Hazard. I am the Executive Director at Tefra Institute of Contemporary Art and co-curator of Hacia, Vida Toward Life. Jose Corona and Cognate Collective create a new framework for understanding the position of the immigrant as deeply optimistic and full of hope, to look past the artificiality of borders and instead define and celebrate common humanity. The works hold up a mirror to our preconceived notions of immigration and presents a space to empathize with acts of journeying, to find joy as a method of resistance. Hacia la Vida Toward Life is the first of a series of 3 exhibitions marking Tefra ICA's 50th anniversary. The exhibition highlights this important milestone in the institution's history through recurring themes of celebration.